A banger of a match to finish a brilliant weekend of rugby in this November Test series. And felicidades, Argentina. The full-time whistle has just gone at Murrayfield. My immediate thoughts following the game, which finished resultado final, Scotland 24, Argentina 33. A stunning comeback, a record ever comeback for Los Pumas in international rugby from 21-0 down. Or to flip it around, Scotland were 21-0 up and managed to find a new, more painful way of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. I was thinking at one point, oh my word, Scotland are going to do it. They're going to beat Argentina by more than 16 and go on and claim 6th place in the world rankings to be in the top band of seeds for the World Cup draw. And bearing in mind the pain that Scotland felt about the pool draw at the last World Cup, that would be significant. But on comes Pablo Matera, on comes Santi Carreras, and the game completely changed. Scotland.
Emotional damage.
The one phrase that I know Scotland fans hate, and this isn't just rugby, this is just Scottish sport in general, gallant losers. They so often are. How often do you hear, oh, brave Scotland, so brave, gallant losers, they just lost. And you looked at this and you thought, this is the opportunity to have a bit of a statement win against a team a couple of places above them in the world ranking, and after the heartbreak of the New Zealand game. But again, the echoes of the New Zealand game were there. Damien McKenzie came on for New Zealand and flipped the script, and in a 20-minute cameo won them the game. And now Santi Carreras in the second half has done exactly the same. I don't know if Santi Carreras was the man of the match. I would have given him the man of the match. He was a one-man bomb squad. And that would be, if he is, and I would have given it to him for his impact in that second half. Could have been Montoya as well. But imagine 2 games in a row where a replacement fullback is man of the match in comeback victories. That's got to hurt. I know what's going to happen now as well. Tooney out cries are going to be there. That talk about that's a mentality that comes from the top down. I was thinking in that game that, well, in the first half anyway, or just after half-time when Scotland went 21-0 up, I was thinking Southern Hemisphere teams, maybe they're just gassed. There was a lot of talk coming into the November series, rightly so, about Northern Hemisphere teams being undercooked. Look at France against South Africa, and it looked that way. And, you know, England in previous years, when they've played New Zealand or Australia first up, they've quite often struggled. And Ireland weren't themselves in Chicago. But I was looking at this game and piecing this one together with Australia from yesterday against Ireland. And I was starting to think, oh, maybe these Southern Hemisphere teams are a little bit gassed. And I was thinking of New Zealand at Twickenham. But that's clearly not the case. And Argentina had plenty left in their tank. Questions are going to be asked. That is to take nothing away from Argentina, who, when they get a rumble on, when they get the bit between their teeth, and when they start to take a few risks, they have got game breakers who are wild attacking forces. And when Mateo Carreras, who was awesome, gets going and gets ahead of steam, and Santi Carreras, just such a graceful rugby player. Yeah. But from Scotland's point of view, the management of the game on the field, and I'll come to Gregor Townsend, off the field as well, the management of that game was really poor. The cool heads on the pitch were wearing sky blue and white, not blue. And actually, maybe that's where the game was lost, actually, now I look at it. I look at that picture of Rory Darge, and Scotland's kit this week was nowhere near as nice as the incredible centenary kit that they wore against New Zealand. And Argentina have always got an impeccable stash game. Their kit is chef's kiss, beautiful. And, you know, if you look good, you're gonna play better. So, you know, it might have had an impact in it. No, obviously that's got nothing to do with it. But the Argentina kit is gorgeous. And Scotland, you should make the kit you wore against New Zealand your permanent stash, because it is a thing of absolute beauty. But one of the biggest takeaways from this month is that the benches in international rugby, maybe rugby in general, are more important than they have ever been. Think about England and what they've done against Australia and New Zealand. Think about Vilko Lowe's influence and just generally the South African bomb squad. They kind of developed the bomb squad concept. Although on that, I do have to say, there's one thing I thought the other day. It was actually France were one of the first teams to do a 6-2 split, and one of the first teams to have a hybrid player on the bench, because they had, what's his name? 2022 he was on the wing and he also played flank. I've completely forgotten his name. He was a flanker that also played on the wing. So he was a hybrid player. So it's not all South Africa doing it, but the point being, they did the 7-1 split. They've had the bomb squads finishing the game with his stronger players. England have started to do that as well. We've seen Scotland really fall away, and Argentina leaving their big names on the bench. D-Mac I mentioned for New Zealand, but Santi Carreras, take a bow. Pablo Matera, take a bow. And I look at Scotland's bench, and let me just talk about that game management a little bit. The bench for Argentina came on and made a massive impact. Scotland, they brought a couple of replacements on after 71 minutes. I think Bayliss came on after 71. And by that point, like, Gregor Brown had gone off after 8 minutes. Really unfortunate for Scotland. That back five of the scrum, the second row back row, looked absolutely gassed, and you leave Josh Bayliss off the field till 71 minutes. When Argentina are hammering you, there needed to be some change in energy, and it was too slow to pull the trigger. It's easy to say after the fact. Hindsight is always 20/20. But I don't even think Nathan Macbeth got on the field. So you had Macbeth didn't get on the field. You had Bayliss that came on after 71 minutes. There was another player that came on after 71 minutes as well. And then you put Duhan van der Merwe on the bench for the first time for Scotland. Never been on the bench before. And what was the logic of the bench? Again, it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback after the fact. But I don't know, if you're a Scotland fan, how is it a luxury that you didn't need? Because more and more, well, I don't know. It's easy to say after the fact. I didn't say this in the preview, that they shouldn't have Duhan van der Merwe. I just pointed out that it's the first time he's ever been on the bench. I'm not sure that was the game-changing thing that you needed to either stem the tide. I guess, and what I did say the other day was maybe they were keeping Duhan there on the bench in case they had the chance to win by more than 16 points and then bring on a game breaker at the end. So, maybe I'll go back in my box there. But just what you cannot argue with is that Scotland shat the bed. I couldn't think of a better way to put it. They did. 21-0 up. I had a phrase to describe South Africa on the yesterday as mentality. No, it wasn't. I can't claim it. But I mentioned that South Africa have been described in the last week as mentality monsters. I think that might be an Andy Farrell phrase, but it was used in relation to South Africa, and it's bang on. I don't know what the opposite of mentality monsters is, but it feels like that might be Scotland. Record comeback for Argentina. And like I say, it started so well. Just a few questions before I get into the actual game. What's happened to Blair Kinghorn? He got fended off for a try. He does not look himself. He got a yellow card. Ben White was a bit of a blow. He's so important to Scotland, and I talked about them not having the game management. That said, Jamie Dobie and George Horn, they're good scrum halves. But losing Gregor Brown to a concussion on 8 minutes, that was a bit of a blow. Started so well. Well, actually, there was like the first 5 minutes, it was a little bit, there was balls being dropped everywhere. Benny Hill music should have been played. But then Wee Darcy cutting an absolutely gorgeous line. And Juan Cruz Malia getting a yellow card. Could that have been a penalty try? Joaquin Oviedo was covering, so said the referee. So as a result, it wasn't a likely try. I don't know. That's 50-50. I'm okay. I'm okay with that one. But then they went for the corner, didn't get the try. Kyle Steyn bumped off Rodrigo Iskro, and that just summed up the first half. Scotland just had a little bit more bite to them. And that showed with the Dempsey try, which was absolutely beautiful. Lovely line from Jack Dempsey. He's so athletic. But it was Finn Russell looking out the back and then the flat pass, selling the whole of the Argentinian backline with his eyes. Dempsey going through the hole. 28 minutes and Ashman scores. And then he scores again just after half-time. And Scotland are cooking. 45 minutes and it's 21-0. What were the betting odds for an Argentina win? Let alone an Argentina win by 9 points on 45 minutes when Scotland are 21-0 up. Because that means that The remaining 35 minutes of the game, Argentina were nearly a point a minute. 33-3 from that point on. 33-3. And actually, Argentina didn't score until 57 minutes, did they? When Montoya scored. So that means, Argentina scored 33 points in 23 minutes. Turner, that was the other player that got left on the bench till 71 minutes. Ewan Ashman stayed on that long. Montoya scores, like I say, Iskro. And then Finn Russell takes the 3 points to make it 24-12. There's a quarter of the game left. Scotland have a 12-point lead. You would still back them there. It's top 2 inches stuff. It's all about mentality at this point. Scotland don't have the muscle memory of having come through days like this and dug it out for a win. They don't have enough experiences of that to draw upon. Argentina do. And particularly on the field to finish was Pablo Matera, was Julian Montoya, was Santiago Chocobares. Class names that have been there before in big matches. It was at this point that Duhan van der Merwe came on and Rory Hutchinson went off. So Carl Steyn goes to 13. Easy to say after the fact, but was that overcomplicating something by changing 2 positions on the field when you could just change 1? Easy to say, I know, and it's easy to say after the fact, like I say, but a 6-2 split just looks a whole lot more sensible now, doesn't it? Especially with Gregor Brown going off so early. Anyway, Pedro Rubiolo scores. He's a really talented player. He's only like 22, 23. And then Mateo Carreras made another, and he made so many bursts in this game. He is such a dangerous runner. And Pablo Matera scores, and Argentina are in front for the first time on 75 minutes. Just rubbing salt in the wound when Justo Picado scores a try with a minute left on the clock. And Murrayfield goes very, very quiet, except for the sound of boos. That one's going to be painful. And one thing that was said coming into this month, with Gregor Townsend having taken up his new consultancy role with Red Bull, when it doesn't go Scotland's way, that will start to get mentioned. People will start saying, why don't you just go to Newcastle now, Gregor? The noises are going to get louder. It's a tough one, because they're doing lots and lots of nice things. They're doing lots of nice things, but they're not finishing the job, and they really should have on this occasion. Just Murrayfield again on an international day is absolutely amazing. The bagpipes, the anthems. And I couldn't tell who was going to win, because I always say the more tears you get from Argentinians during their national anthem, the more likely they are to win. But equally, the bigger a smile that Wee Darcy has before the game, the more likely Scotland are to win. And there were tears, and there was Wee Darcy with a giant grin on his face. But yeah, an amazing place to go and watch rugby. That one will sting. But fair play to Argentina, taking nothing away, because that was the best comeback of any Argentinian team ever. It says everything. Joan Martin Gonzalez, when did he get to 50 caps? How did that happen? One little pet peeve. I'll finish on a little pet peeve. Commentators who overpronounce foreign names. No need. There's no need. Chocoarez. Justo Picardo. No. R.I.P. the legend Eddie Butler used to do it with French players. I'll let him off, but no. We don't need that. But what a game. What an absolutely amazing game. And well done, Argentina. Those are some thoughts. How much does that one hurt Scotland fans? Let me know, and I'll see you on the next video. What a weekend of rugby.